Continue. All right. So, hello everyone. Today is going to be a very fun presentation. We're going to have a virtual planetarium show, but we'll get to that a bit later. First, we are going to decide our club shirt designs. So, everyone, please sign in. Shouldn't take too long, a couple of seconds. Okay, and as usual, yeah.
Perry or Ishida or Lena, can one of you send the sign-in link in the chat as well?
Yeah.
Thanks.
And for those who have not joined our Discord yet, here is the Discord link. I'm assuming everyone has signed though, so we're good. Awesome. T-shirt contest. So we have a couple of submissions, and we're going to show you the 3 or 4 designs we have. And at the end, you will have a form. You could fill it out, pick your favorite design, and the poll will end on Sunday. We could talk a bit more about that later. So first design that we have is by Leonard. This awesome, beautiful, simplistic design. I love it. It's cool.
Now, for each of these designs, if the designer is here and wants to talk about or point out anything in their design, they are welcome to do so. So if Leonard's here, I haven't checked the participants list, but...
Is Leonard here? I don't know.
Hey, I'm here.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I hope you like it. It's as good as I got.
Yeah, thanks for the submission.
Okay. All right, going on to our next design, we have from Jack Manning. Thank you for the design, another cool one. Jack, would you like to see something if you are here right now? I don't know who's...
I made this in MS Paint and I don't know, that's it.
Thank you. All right, yep. Second design is here. And on to our third design, we have by our own president, Henry. Henry, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I made this cool astrolabe, inspired by the classic instruments of astronomy. I thought it turned out in a pretty cool design, so I hope you like it. Thanks.
All right. And yep, those are our 3 designs. We could quickly take a look at them again. Yeah, I don't think there's another one. Yeah, so design 1 by Leonard. We have design 2 by Jack and design 3 by Henry. So these are all the 3 designs. We have them on our ballot as well. So, oh, wow, you like to rush. But here's the link to our t-shirt contest. The poll ends on Sunday night, I believe. You have until Sunday to pick out whichever design you guys like best. And we will be able to pick a design by Monday and send it out to get our t-shirts. So please do vote, and hopefully we'll get a t-shirt soon. Henry, do you want to say anything else?
I guess I'll just point out it doesn't really matter for everyone because you're all here, but you do have to have attended at least one meeting this semester to vote on the t-shirt, because the t-shirts that we buy are only going to go to people who are active members. So, if there's one design you really like, don't just try and go get all your friends to vote for it if they're not in the astronomy club. You can only vote if you've attended a meeting this semester. But for all of you, you have, because you're here right now.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we can send the t-shirt contest link later on as well in our Discord. We can send out an email. And if someone wants to drop it in the chat too, that could work. But yeah, so these are our t-shirt designs and our ballot. Please remember to vote before Sunday night so we could pick our design. And on to the Planetarium Show. All right, I could stop screen sharing so you guys could take over.
All right, give me 1 second. I'm just going to find the phone stream and I'm going to spotlight it so it should show up as the primary video for all of you. Did that work? Do you all see the phone stream now?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, cool. So, Rob, are you ready to go here? Okay. I will turn it over to Rob, and I think we'll get started by showing you around the planetarium here.
All right, can everybody hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay. Hello. All right, so let's start by I want to kind of show you guys exactly what it is we have here. I'm assuming we all know what a planetarium is, but I want to show you. So this is our main pride and joy here. This is our star projector. So this is what we traditionally use to show the night sky. Thank you, Aaron. This is by a company called Konica Minolta. They're a Japanese company, and this is their Gemini 3 star projector. So we just got this about 8 years ago, and it cost us $1.5 million. So very expensive right there, but it's awesome. It is able to show us the stars, really as we should see them, as just like little pinpoints in the sky, can able to show them twinkling and just really in their full glory. So that is our pride and joy. And this comes accompanied with a planet rack at the front, which is this guy here. So as a lot of us probably know, the planets and the sun and the moon move very differently than the stars do. So they're on their own special thing because they're going to be changing. Now, obviously, also proper motion is a thing when it comes to the stars, but we don't really have a need to have our star projector look 4 billion years into the future. So that's not needed there. But those are the planets that we use as well. Now, we use this also with our digital system, which are these projectors. There's one on each side of the dome. So one in the south here, and then one in the north. And those work with our digital sky system, which is a separate system that we use, but they kind of work together in unison to just make like an overall picture. So you'll use the, the star projector, the blue ball, to see the stars, and then we'll use the digital projectors to, show the constellation lines, or watch a film or something like that. So these projectors are brand new. We actually just got them installed over the break, the COVID break, and they cost about 100 grand each. So that's 200 grand right there. Yeah, so those are most of our systems. So tonight, because we need to make it as bright as possible, we're going to use the digital stars, because it's unfortunately too dim to show it over over the internet. If you guys were here in person, that would be very different. But I also want to show you, before we begin, our operating system back here. So this is like our console. This is where we control everything. So we'll do our shows from here, sit here, we'll have a microphone and talk to the audience, got our little laser pointer. And it looks like a lot of buttons, but it's actually pretty straightforward. This one here controls all the audio and the lighting. This top rack here controls all of the, from the star projector, so the big blue ball. And this computer controls that. And there's a whole bunch of different things on there. You can see this stuff, yeah. And this computer on the right, these two screens, controls all the digital stuff, and that has its own keyboard and mouse. So we kind of try to, use everything, have a nice, good flow throughout the whole thing. Yeah. I don't know. It's attached to it, so it's part of the 1.5 million. Yeah, it's cool because it has. I'll show you. You'll see later. It has like it's an arrow. But thank you, Alex. All right, so I'm lowering that down because we are not going to be using it. Yeah, and it dips down into that pit there, our little pit of doom, and that's where she lives. So we call her Connie. That's our nickname for her because it's Konica Minolta is the brand. And we actually, our graphic designer anthropomorphized her and turned her into a comic for for kids and families. So it's pretty cool. That's Connie. Good. Okay, so no, you're fine. Traditionally, Planetarium is a full 360 dome theater. Obviously, we're a little bit limited because of just streaming this over the internet. So we're going to focus mostly on the front. And once I dim down the lights, we'll, be able to see some of these stars. So let's go ahead. So yeah, Aaron is monitoring the chat. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to pop them in there, or also just unmute yourself and interrupt me. I want to do this like, very informally. My goal tonight is for you guys to ask a lot of questions and me to just kind of show you what you want to see. You know, normally our shows are designed for families. So let's go a little brighter. There we go. So they're more, you know, like younger audiences and non-scientific audiences, which I know you guys are mostly science people. So you guys tell me what you want to see, and I will do my best to show you. And of course, I'll talk about some other stuff as well. All right. Okay, so I've set the sky to right now. So about 7:45 on today's date, November 5th. And I set it to our location. So, you know, 40 degrees north, 73 degrees west. So this would be the sky that we would see if, you know, we didn't have all the light pollution on Long Island. So I guess before we begin, is there anything in particular anybody wants to cover first?
One person asked about showing us constellations.
Awesome. We're definitely going to talk about constellations. That's it so far?
Someone asked which direction we're facing.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, let's start with that. Let me pull up our cardinal points. And you can see that on the very bottom of your screen is south. So yeah, that's perfect centering that, Henry. Yeah, so that's the south. What I'll be doing is, because we're obviously not going to change our camera view, I'm going to flip our sky around when we take a look at some northern constellations. So let's actually do that first. Hmm.
Advancing time.
Yeah, I know. I'm hitting the wrong thing. Okay. No, that's gonna go up and down. Where is our? Okay, so you know what? Let's start with the south then, until I remember how to spin us around completely. Okay, so here we are. Let's pull up some constellations. So we have seasonal changes within our nighttime sky in the south. The north is always going to be the same because of the way Earth rotates upon its axis. And at our latitude, longitude, we're going to always see the same pretty much 5 constellations in the northern sky, no matter what time of year it is. But in the south, as we orbit around the sun, we're going to see a bunch of different constellations. So we're moving into the winter time. And the winter is, in my opinion, the best time to look at the sky because you get some really bright constellations. So the first one we see starting to rise up tonight, and this is around midnight right now as we're going forward. So let's go until we have him pretty high in the sky. That should be good. So this is tonight or early this morning around 2 a.m. And the center of attention on our wintertime sky is Orion, of course. So there he is, the hunter. And Orion is really good. So I know most of us here aren't very familiar with the night sky, you know, with finding out the constellations. So I like to use Orion as like a starting point to then help us find out each of the other constellations. So starting at Orion, and let's point out we have Betelgeuse over here, the you know, red supergiant, Bellatrix, Rigel, and Saiph for the 4 main stars. If we look to the right of Orion, so to the west of Orion, you're going to see the constellation Taurus. So Taurus is right here, and that's the bull. And in, you know, Greek mythology and, you know, across the different myths, you'll see Orion fighting Taurus. You know, this, I could talk for hours about the mythology aspect of it. Aaron, feel free to interrupt me if people are asking questions.
You want to interrupt? Or
Yeah.
put them in the chat?
Okay, I mean, whatever's easier.
So Alan
There we go. Now everyone can hear me talk. So in the chat, we had a question about the illustration of Orion, if you want to pull it back up for us real quick. So someone asked, oh, is that like a shield in his hand? I thought it was a bow or a sword. But the illustrations are kind of up for interpretation. There's no real answer because really it's just a bunch of dots in the sky. And the ancient Greek astronomers who made this stuff up didn't have any official illustrations anyway. So I've seen versions where it's a bow, I've seen versions where it's a club. So all of the images that we have are just specific to our theater, and there's no like official imagery for the constellation pictures. You get to use your imagination.
Okay, so in the constellation Taurus, and yeah, that's a good point. So we have actually a few different types of images that we can overlay for the constellations. I know we have a set of Native American ones. I don't think it will work. Let me see if this will work now. Where's Orion? No, didn't think so. That's okay. So one of the ones we have is from the Native American where he's holding a club, not even a sword. So as Aaron said, it's a wide range of interpretations from them. So inside Taurus, you have Aldebaran. I believe that's the red giant star right over here. But the most notable thing inside Taurus is this grouping of stars over here, which is the Pleiades. And that's cool because, that's an open cluster, but it's cool because it's a visible deep sky object that, you can see pretty clearly without any type of aid from a telescope or, anything else like that. Yeah, so that's the Pleiades, and that's my favorite grouping of stars. Not that you guys care. But okay, so there's Taurus. We also have two, again, centering on Orion in the middle. Instead of looking to the right, we're going to now look towards the east and below. Yeah, go for it.
What is an open cluster?
Okay, so the open clusters, they're not gravitationally bound to each other. They're slowly getting farther and farther away, over millions and millions of years. It's a very young grouping of stars. I believe they're only a handful of million years old, which is, very young, astronomically speaking. So in the future, billion years from now, it's not really going to be a cluster anymore because they're going to have separated away from each other, as opposed to a closed cluster, which is a group of stars that are gravitationally bound to each other.
Are you going to do precession?
Yes, I was planning on talking about.
Cool. Someone asked a question about that, but I'm just
Awesome.
you're going to answer that later.
Yes, I definitely plan on, as a lot of you know, my particular interest in astrology and how much I hate it. I'm definitely going to talk about precession and the zodiac. Okay, so to find our next grouping of stars, we're again going to start at Orion, and this time we're going to look in the southeast, so to the bottom left. And we're going to see this really bright star here, which is Sirius, the brightest star in the sky, in the northern sky at least. And that is the telltale sign that you're looking at the constellation Canis Major, which is that guy. And that's the first of our dog stars. Now, fun fact for all of us Harry Potter nerds here, J.K. Rowling got a lot of the names for characters from the stars, if you probably put together already. And Sirius being this star here, also Sirius turns into a dog, and that's part of the dog constellation. So that's pretty fun. Okay, so now we're going to find Canis Minor, who's the other dog, and that's right above Canis Major, very small constellation, which is usually outlined by this star here, Procyon. And that's still to the east of Orion there. So there he is. So that's how we always see Orion and his two hunting dogs. What else we got? All right, so also in this area of the sky, what? We have a couple of zodiac constellations. Taurus is one of them. We also see Gemini, which are the two twin brothers, Castor and Pollux. So those are above us here. And I always forget which one's which. There you go. That one's Castor, which, okay, we do see that. Never mind. And the one below it is Pollux. So those are Gemini twins. Fun fact about this constellation, we don't normally see this, but it's very rare that each one of these stars is a particular person. And what I mean by that is we don't, just talk about Betelgeuse being Orion or any of these one stars. They all make up Orion as a whole, but individually, this single star is the twin brother Castor, and this single star is Pollux. So that's just a random tidbit there. Okay, so there's also in the west, we have Aries, and I'm going to rewind time a little bit to better focus that constellation in the sky. So that's going to be to the west of Orion and Taurus if you keep following the line across there. And Aries is the ram. And we also have Pisces, which are the fish. And those are a couple of the zodiac constellations. So yeah, that's pretty much our winter sky, and and that changes as we continue our orbit around the sun. Early on in the evening tonight, we should also be seeing the planets Jupiter and Saturn and Mars. So let's pull those up. Let me first get to the planets page. One second.
Before you do the planets, Rob, can
Sure.
you pull up all 88?
Oh, absolutely.
Show the boundaries. Talk about that a little bit.
Sure. Okay, so let me just get rid of all of these for a second, and we'll start fresh.
Someone asked if Jupiter's moons would show up in the planetarium.
Absolutely.
Yeah, while Rob's working on this about the moons, they won't show up in this like setting, if you will, since this is simulating the night skies. We'd really see it if we were going to go outside, and you can't see Jupiter's moons with the naked eye. But we could potentially fly to Jupiter and take a closer look at those moons. Yes.
Okay, so here are all the constellations. Now, of course, this is still just the south, and this is just in the northern hemisphere. And if you guys like, I could take a trip down to the southern hemisphere too, which I am 0% familiar with, so that would be a learning experience for us all. Yeah, exactly. And there's their labels. So this is exactly what we're looking at. Now, if I pull up the boundaries, I believe it's this. Yes. Okay, so perfect. Now, let me get rid of the names because that makes it a little too cluttered. Now, what was the specific question that was asked, Erin?
So I think that you will cover it partially now and partially during the procession.
Uh-huh.
But Krista asked, she said that she heard that the constellations the Greeks and Romans saw or made were different than what we see today.
Okay, so that's breaking down on a couple different levels. So the constellations that the Romans and Greeks saw were different than today. Yes, but for different reasons. So the stars aren't really moving that much, like away from each other. The shapes are going to be pretty rigid in the sky for a very, very long time, millions and millions of years. The Greeks had some different boundaries. So these boundaries that you see, all this like these blocky squares, these are the boundaries that were set in by the International Astronomical Union, the IAU. So even though, this is Pisces right here, this star, which you might not be able to see, not bright enough, all the stars that are still in this box are a part of Pisces, even though they don't make up the official line of it. But these are the, the official ones. But that was different. We didn't just take what the Greeks were and made it official. We did change it up a little bit. But the locations of the stars physically haven't changed that much. When talking about precession, so the Earth precesses around its axis. That means it wobbles. And I have a little video on that. But we'll talk about that when I get to precession and how that changes. When the stars are the constellations are moving across the sky in a different way besides just as we orbit the sun. But we'll get to that in a little bit. So yeah, these are all the official constellations, and those are their boundaries. All right. All right, so just to talk about the planets real quick. Now, it's going to be a little hard to see with this here, but we do have the 3 planets out tonight. So we have Jupiter. Can you move that chat thing? It's probably, I want to make sure it's under there. Yes, okay, so there's Jupiter in the corner there. We have Saturn, which is pretty close to it tonight. And then we also have Mars, which is more in the east. So you can see that little line just popped up there. So, okay, I figure let's take a look at the planets really quick as a whole. So I have the ability to look at all of the, like our whole solar system. Yeah. Okay, so there's the whole solar system with the sun in the middle. And this is our, traditional view of it. It's called the orrery. And I can go on its side. Ooh, ha, I'm right near Jupiter. There's Jupiter. I know, Jupiter's bigger than the sun in this. So what was I talking about? Yeah, okay, so let's take a little look at them then. So the thing to really note here is that our solar system is flat, which if you don't know, that's because, when it formed in a flat disk. So this is important for the night sky because you're always going to see the planets in the same line across the sky, the ecliptic, which I'll talk a little bit about once we're done here. Yeah, so that's our solar system. It's flat. I think that's going to go forward and out. And one of the reasons, and this is at Catherine, I actually don't know if you're here, but one of the reasons we don't consider Pluto a planet anymore is because of its orbit and how heavily inclined it is. So there you see, all the planets lie on the, this flat path except Pluto. Pluto's doing his own thing. And the other dwarf planets too. So, which, yes, you guys can see all those lines. So they're all just all over the place because they're in the Kuiper Belt. Thank you, Caitlin. That was for you. Okay, so let's get back down. Whoops. Great. Now, why do I mention this? So the ecliptic is this line. That's not very bright. Yeah, unfortunately, that's just as bright as it's going to get. But you can see the faint, this faint line going across the sky there. That's that path that all the planets and the sun, the moon, everything lies along. So that's why we're only ever going to see planets in the south running across this line. In the summer months, so this is also the path of the sun, mind you. So in the summer months, which is, okay, let me back up. Above us, you're seeing some labels on it. You're seeing June, May, April, July, but our sky right now is set to November because this ecliptic follows the path of the sun. So when the sun is at its highest point in the sky each day, you can follow this. You can read this like a calendar, the month of June, the 10th, the 20th, 30th, and so on and so forth. So that would be daytime during the summer, but it's obviously nighttime for us now. So the sun where it is today, that's all underneath us. It's behind us. So again, that's why we have Orion as an example as our winter constellation, because it would be daytime when this is in front of us in the summertime. And then you obviously, unless there's a total solar eclipse, you can't see any stars behind the sun. It's just, way too bright. So yeah, all of the planets also follow along this path, and it's always in the south. We know that the sun rises in the east, sets in the west, travels across the south. So you're never going to look for planets if you're trying to find them behind us in the north, or whichever way you're facing. They're always going to be in the south. And yeah, let's see. Okay, so let's move into talking about the precession then. Now, this is when we start talking about the zodiac constellations. And I'm going to pull up all of them real quick. Cool. Yeah, again, I apologize, it's not super bright, but it will have to do. So notice that all of the constellations of the zodiac lie along this path. And, if I fast forward time, we'll start to see the others. Yeah. What are the questions? Ophiuchus? Sure. We'll move to that. Continue. What's the next question? Oh, okay. My sign. So that my sign, it depends on what you're asking. So okay, let's do that first because I already have July up in the air. Now, again, this is a little hard to see for you all, but here you can see my pointer, I think clearly. Yeah. So this to this is the month of July, and my birthday's on the 10th. So if you look up a traditional zodiac chart, you're going to see that July 10th falls within the constellation Cancer, which is this guy. You know what? Let me really quick see if I can pull up a brighter picture of the constellations. It's just going to make it that much easier. Because I think if I get the blue ones,
pictures on my page, if you still have it up.
I don't, but we did the solar system stuff, so I'll get rid of that. So yeah, it's a little brighter. Okay, we'll do this.
Yeah, that is better.
Let's get all 12 of those on.
I love the random colors.
Yeah, I know. As long as we can see them clear, that's the main point
We
here.
could technically change the colors, but that involves going into the code, and it's too much work to do right this second.
Yeah. Okay, so now you can see a little bit easier, but it's still, you're not gonna be able to see the dates, but here's the end of July. So that little line there is the 31st of July, and the 1st of July is right here. So according to traditional star charts, I'm right here on the 10th, but I'm told that my star constellation, my zodiac sign is a Cancer, which is this guy here, the crab. So that doesn't make sense. So to answer your question, Al, really, I'm a Gemini because that's where my birthday is. But according to the star signs, I'm a Cancer. Now, why does that happen? But I guess I should start just by saying, so this is where the sun is on your birthday, right? Because as I talked about, the sun is following this path. So each one of those dates is where the sun's at its highest point at noon on that day. So that's where this comes from. The ancient peoples thought that the position of the sun and the planets and the moon, and you had your rising signs and all this other stuff, they believed it had some impact on your life, which is obviously bogus, but there are still a lot of people that believe that. And yeah, so that's where the sun was on the 10th of July in the year 2000. In this 20th century. I was born before that, unfortunately. But yeah, so this is where it is today in the year 2020. And if I go back, 27 years, it's still going to be in the same spot because it doesn't change all that quickly. But if I go back 2,000 years, it's going to change a lot more significantly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the exact same date, time, location, but 2,000 years in the past. So I'm going to set the theater to be November 5th, the year 0020, same time, which right now is 4:06 in the morning. So let's do that. Okay, now again, still hard to see, but if you're looking, the month of July ends here and begins here. So 2,000 years ago, that's where the sun was on, if we're still using my birthday as reference, 10th of July, right? You know, still counting as the constellation Cancer. So that's why, as many of you know, there is this discrepancy between the old signs and the new signs, and maybe that answers your question on if the constellations have changed from the Greeks. Yeah, some of them, you know, you're 100% right. Virgo is much bigger than Scorpius. It's one of the largest constellations in the sky. And, you know, they didn't pick these constellations because of their size. They picked them because of they happen to be on the path of the sun. So yeah, people that are Virgos, it's probably the largest age time gap for that constellation.
So despite the 2,000-year shift, my birthday, which is September 4th, is pretty much still in Virgo.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. They say, I think it's like 85% of people have the wrong zodiac sign. Yeah. So, okay. Now let's talk about, well, first we'll talk about Ophiuchus, and then I'll tell you exactly why, you know, with this precession, I'll explain it a little better, why the Earth is shifting like this. So let's go to Ophiuchus. So notice something else. Henry, can you shift the camera down a little bit? So now we're in this the winter months. So this is, you know, December is dead set in front of us, right in front of Sagittarius there. The winter months, what just happened to this line? I asked Henry to readjust the camera because the ecliptic went lower in the sky. And that makes perfect sense, right? The sun is out for less time each day in the winter. It doesn't get as high in the sky, and lo and behold, it's colder. So that's because of, you know, our tilt, the Earth's tilt. So, okay, Ophiuchus is right over here. Oh, that can't really be seen. Okay, hold on. Let me get the brighter one.
While Rob's working on that, part of the reason that it seems so dim on our stream is because when people are inside the planetarium, we want to keep them dark adapted so they can better see all of the little pinpoints of light, all of our little stars in here. So a lot of our constellation pictures are like a navy. Our ecliptic line is also that kind of dark blue, it's versus the like hot pink we have for some of these, because those dark colors keep you dark adapted better so you can see more detail when you're actually here in the theater.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And to further on that, I have our projector lenses at full power, of course, right now. When we're doing shows, we keep them at about like 20% because, you know, as you guys probably know, when your eyes are dark adapted, it's a completely different experience. So you just don't even need something that bright because of how well you can really see in the dark. And I'll try to, like, personally, I'll try to use a red sky to start off with. Sorry, I'm hearing some echo.
Or for me, did I not?
That's okay. Okay, thank you. I try to use like a red, you know, when I started talking to you guys, the sky was white. You know, the whole theater was white because I needed you to see everything. But I try to, you know, when people are sitting, I have it like a red because that's going to have the, you know, the longest wavelength of the visible spectrum, and it's going to help, you know, adapt your eyes to the darkness, and, you know, little things like that that we do to help make it a better experience. But anyway, okay, so here's Ophiuchus. And as you can see, his right foot, well, both of his feet, they cross the ecliptic. So that is why Ophiuchus is actually part of the zodiac constellations. Let me help better explain that by bringing out those blocky boundaries again, which you can kind of see if you look close. Yeah, so you see this like week and a half, 2-week time frame in November, the sun is actually inside the constellation Ophiuchus. Now, this goes back, so that it's not like Ophiuchus kind of just like moved into this area. This is going back to what I said earlier, that the IAU redefined boundaries of constellations. So according to, and I don't know what it looked like to the ancient Greeks, but I think that the constellation of Scorpius here, the boundary was higher up. You know, it encompassed probably these stars above, which is why traditionally it just goes from Sagittarius in December, January, or at the time January, to whatever this is, Scorpius. But yes, I just realized we're also still back in the year 20. So I'm going to pull that back to the present. And that makes more sense. Yeah, I was saying to myself too, I'm like, Sagittarius is, most prominent in the sky in January, right? But, during the daytime, of course. But that's, yeah, so that's where it should be. All right. Any other questions you're seeing, Aaron? Or should I move on to something else? No? Okay. All right. So let me show you guys what the precession is if you're not already familiar. So I'm going to assume we all know that the Earth is tilted 23.5 degrees, and that causes our seasons to change. But it also wobbles around its tilt, and it does this every, I believe, 26,000 years or so, very slowly. About 24,000 years around, let's say. So as it's doing that, and as I get this reset, it's processing through those constellations along that ecliptic line, along the path of the sun there. So I have a little video, and hopefully this will be able to be streamed well. Perfect. That looks good. So there's the tilt of the Earth, and you can't really see, but the ecliptic is running around it here in this video. Unfortunately, it's just not bright enough. So as the Earth slowly, and this is going over thousands of years, it turns around this axis, it wobbles, and that's what the precession is. So that's why when we rewound time 2,000 years to the exact date and time, you were looking at a completely different, constellations. They all seem to shift over by one of the, of the 12 zodiac constellations. So yeah. Yeah, okay, we could do that too. So yeah, because of that, our North Star will not always be Polaris as we see it now. And I actually have a little video on that one as well. So this is a picture. This is looking at our North Star. And I know it's very dim, and I apologize. So the NCP is the North Celestial Pole. So as the Earth is precessing, it's also, shifting where our North Star is. So it's not always going to be Polaris. I think at one point it goes through Vega. Is that right, Aaron?
Yep, it goes through Vega. It started in Draco, I think that constellation is.
Yes.
And then right now at 2000 went through Polaris. It zips right through Cepheus, past Cygnus. Yeah, so these are all like circumpolar constellations anyway that it's going through, because it doesn't wobble like that much. It's not going to go through Orion ever. That'd be insane.
Right.
But yes, so like back 2,000 years ago, there was a different North Star. And 2,000 years from now, there will be another different North Star.
All right. So now I would like to take a look at some of these North Stars. I just got to remember, and please bear with me, it's been like 6 months since I've been here, how to flip us around. Yeah, you think that's okay? All right. All right, so it's going to be easier. Henry's just going to move our camera so it's facing the north instead. Yeah, exactly. You know what this is? Usually we just use Connie to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, she's not on.
Yeah, I think that looks pretty good, Henry.
Cool. All right. So as Aaron mentioned, and I mentioned at the beginning, these circumpolar constellations. So no matter where the sun is along the ecliptic, no matter where we are, we're always going to see these stars because they're in the north. And there's 5 of them at our latitude. And, if you go to the North Pole, everything is circumpolar. It seems like the Earth, just rotates from your zenith, from your direct above point. So let's first look at Polaris. Oh. Oh, that's why. I went not at the right latitude. Okay, 1 second. There you go. So now you see Polaris in frame. So that's our North Star. Now, I can do a cool thing, and hopefully this will be able to be seen. Star trails. So if you've ever looked at like an image of trailing stars, when people that are into astrophotography will do like long exposures, you can actually, you see how the stars move by making a long trail. So, that looks awesome. Okay. So that's what I'm doing. I'm fast forwarding time, but I'm trailing all the stars with me, so you can actually see exactly how they're moving. And as we notice that, Polaris is not moving because that's our North Star, and everything seems to be orbiting around it. And I think that's like the best way I use to describe this circumpolarity, because if you're on, this star, and actually let me do one better here. Let's pull up the Little Dipper. So there's Ursa Minor. A little hard to see, but there's the outline. So that's the little bear. So no matter what time of day or what time of year, we're always going to see this, because as it does a little rotation around this, it's really tiny circles, right? So it's not going to take much to do it. But the farther south you get, the farther away from the North Star, the bigger these circles become. Till you eventually get to the point where at one point they will dip below the horizon completely. Henry, would you be able to point the camera right over here for a second? So there's, yeah, there we go. So there's the horizon there. So at one point these circles get large enough where they're going to start to dip down at night and rise up in the, the next day. So that's why we have those seasonal changes. Okay, thanks, Henry. You can go back to the north, please. Yeah, thanks. Okay, so yeah, that's why that's what the circumpolarity is, and that's why we always see the North Star. Why you can always use it to find your location if you're in the northern hemisphere, because it's never moving. It's always staying in that one location. All right, so these circumpolar constellations, as I said, for our latitude, there's 5 of them. 5 main ones, really. So we have Ursa Minor, which is the little bear. We have Ursa Major, which is the big bear, and that's the constellation that has the Big Dipper in it. Henry, we just lost the video. Okay, cool. Now, technically speaking, the Ursa Major, the big bear, is not circumpolar, because as you can see, part of it is dipping below the horizon. But the Big Dipper, which is, I'll highlight that. The Big Dipper is circumpolar. That never disappears. Now, let's say you're lost in the middle of the woods and you're trying to find your way out. I said find Polaris, right? But Polaris is not an easy star to see. It's not very bright. It's just important. That's the only reason it's a notable star, is because it's the North Star. So what you're going to want to do first is you're going to find the Big Dipper, because that is pretty easy to see. And then you're going to look at the handle, not the handle, the spoon, these 2 stars. And you then just connect a straight line upward, which it doesn't really look like a straight line. Actually, it looks better on the video feed. I'm standing directly under it, so it does not look like a straight line. And that'll bring you to the North Star, and then you can, find your way home. Yeah, so there's Ursa Major. The other constellations, we have Cassiopeia. That's a little bit higher in the sky, but still circumpolar. That's the W. That'll always be up there. I think you can kind of see the line there. the W. We will have her husband, Cepheus. That's the king, and Cassiopeia is the queen. And we also have Draco, another Harry Potter reference. And Draco is a dragon, naturally. Yeah, Draco is one of the largest constellations in the sky. Talking about, Virgo. Draco is really big too. Is it? According to Aaron, it is the biggest constellation. What is the 69th largest constellation? Oh, Delphinus. Okay, those are the dolphins. And we also have Camelpodaris, which is a giraffe. So to all you people that think giraffes are just government drones, this is a constellation. It's 100% a government drone because it's watching us at all times. So Camelpodaris is, I believe it was only made a constellation in like the 1700s. So this is not from the Greeks because it is extremely dim. It's one of the hardest to see constellations in the sky. And you absolutely cannot see it from here on Long Island. So don't even try. It's pretty dim. Yeah, so those are our north constellations. All right, so let's go back and focus on the south again. Henry, if you want to come back over.
While we're transitioning, there's one other thing I wanted to mention. So here in the planetarium and in general, we tend to focus on the Greek interpretations of the stars. But obviously the Greeks were not the only culture that looked up and had stories. So the Big Dipper is a really good example of that, pretty much because the stars are so bright. Basically everyone across the whole world looked up and made something out of those. So in ancient Egypt, it was a bull thigh, I believe, like a big drumstick. We probably all know about, we call it the Big Dipper because I believe it was, I don't know if it was just African American or also some African cultures looked up and saw like a big spoon. There is a Middle Eastern story about 7 thieves, I believe, which is the Big Dipper. And yeah, so there's lots of other ones, but the IAU, who kind of lays down the law about our 88 constellations, picked the like Greek canon to focus on. So that's why we talk about mostly Greek stories instead of talking about other cultures.
If you couldn't tell, Aaron and I both have a nice passion for mythology. So that's fun. Okay, so let's look at a couple other things. So do you guys want to see the size difference between our sun, a G-type star, and let's say a red giant? I'm going to assume the answer is yes. Okay, this is for you, Connor. Sorry, Brittany, this is for Connor. Can you rise it up a little bit, Henry, just to more focus on that? Cool. So this is made to represent our sun, which it looks a lot smaller streamed than it does in the dome, but it's about, the size we would see it in the sky. Also keep in mind, it's very interesting, like after working in the planetarium for so long and then going outside and look at the actual constellations, like these are scaled down like dramatically. If you go and you look at Orion, that constellation is huge. That takes up a significant portion of the sky. It looks so small when we look at it in a planetarium, just because, it's a dome. We're just limited. It's not the sky, of course. So there's our representation of the size of the sun. So try to think about that as our, G-type, yellow star. So what I'm going to do is put the Earth around a red giant star instead. So I'm not going to move our distance. We're an average of 93 million miles away from the sun. So I'm going to put us 93 million miles away from a red giant. And there we have it. Yeah, so, I think the two cameras focusing. That's really funny. Yeah, so that would be a pretty scary sight, and we obviously wouldn't be here. And if this was, let's say, like Betelgeuse, a red supergiant, the radius of that would extend out probably somewhere close to the orbit of Jupiter. So, just really quick, let me pull up the model of the solar system. If you were around a red giant, there's our little sun in the middle. Its radius would extend out to here, which is insane if you're trying to think about sizes of stars. That's a big boy. Okay. What did I want to do next? Okay, so somebody wanted to look at the moons of Jupiter. So I'm going to do that. What's the latest you want me to go? Okay. All right, so let us look at the moons of Jupiter, and then we'll wrap up with a flyout of the universe. So let me just cycle through this real quick. Okay. At the end, okay. All right. So let's look at the moons of Jupiter. So here are the Galilean moons. So Jupiter has 72 moons? 78? It's got a lot. Jupiter has a lot of moons. Okay, Aaron's saying 78. Recently, last year, we discovered 20 new moons around Saturn. So Saturn now has the most moons in the solar system. But Jupiter has 79 now? Okay, 79 moons on Jupiter. Jupiter has 4 main ones, and we call them the Galilean moons because they were discovered by Galileo in 1504 or something, 1604, something like that, when he first pointed his telescope at them. And so he used these moons, he watched them over the course of a few nights, and they very quickly orbit Jupiter. He used that to prove, heliocentrism. And I believe we talked about that a couple of weeks ago when we did our presentation on the more modern astronomy. But yeah, these are the 4 main ones. So the 2 in the middle, the one over here, this is going to be our moon in the future because of the campaign to replace the moon with Europa. So there's Europa. This is where all the, we're going to find life in the solar system. Nobody really cares about Enceladus. So, yeah. I know. On the left, we have Io, which I think we can just move to. Yeah, so there's Io. That is, the pizza one. Okay, we just did Europa. The other one's Ganymede. And Callisto. So the 4 main moons. Okay. Coolio. Okay, so one of the cool things we do with Planetarium, and I'll finish up with this, is a flyout of the universe. So we'll start, on the Earth and then zoom all the way back to the, known edge of the universe. Let me get that loaded.
If anyone has any other questions, now is a great time to ask them while Rob's getting everything loaded.
All right, so we start on Earth. So this is us right above the planet. Yeah. I do have a favorite constellation. My favorite constellation is Andromeda. I just think it's pretty. And I really like the myth story of Andromeda, which we definitely don't have time for, but it's pretty good. Yeah, the going back to the mythology really quick, it's really nice to see it from this perspective because you can pull up, you can look at the constellations and you can see the stories play out, and you can try to really put yourself in the place of these ancient peoples and how they looked at these objects in the sky and saw them all moving around. I don't believe so, Alex. I could be mistaken, but I have never. No, I'm gonna go with no. Most of them are really small, and I would say no. Without knowing for sure, I would probably say no. But you can definitely see the 4 Galilean ones, and they're definitely pretty cool. Somebody also asked, when's the planetarium reopening? Tomorrow, actually, is our first day open. Yep. Okay. So we'll do more questions after. Let's take a look at the universe. So we're starting right above the Earth, right above the eastern seaboard of the United States. And if you didn't notice, it was dark. So let me make it dark again, because this accurately is reflecting the time. And we're still, we have the time set to current, so it's nighttime. But I put all the light on, so it, looks prettier. And the first thing we're going to do is go back to a distance of about 230 or so thousand miles away from Earth. And this would be the image, and I know it doesn't look great, but at this distance, what do we see? Where would we be right now? Somebody pop it in the chat. Yeah, exactly. Awesome. So yeah, this is the image, well, a lot nicer than what you guys are seeing, but that those, 12 astronauts saw when they stood on the surface of the moon so long ago. And, this past summer, 2020, or last summer, wow. This is, I haven't been here for a full summer. So last summer, we celebrated the 50th anniversary of the moon landing. So that's the image they saw. Okay, so next we're going to talk about the radiosphere. Now, this is, wow, you really can't see that. That's, All right, so we're not really going to talk too much about the radiosphere then. Let's see how that looks when we pull back. All right. Yeah, you can't really, unfortunately, see it. It's just too dim. But you see those weirdly shaped. I'll try to highlight it out with my laser pointer. This is a sphere going around here with these, spherical-looking lights. And essentially, that's our radiosphere. So that's the distance that our radio signals have traveled. It's about 100 and about 200 light years in diameter, because we first started sending out radio signals in the early 1920s. And these weren't like sending them out into space. This was just broadcasting radio when it was first invented. But as we probably know, radio is a form of light, so it travels at the speed of light, and it's been sent out into the universe around us. So over the past 100 years, it's gone out in all directions, giving us a sphere of about 200 light years in diameter. Which means if any of the stars within that radius have received our communication, if there's life around a planet around one of those stars, they may have heard our baseball games from the early 20th century or something like that. So, all right, let's go back. That's forward. All right, so if we go back even farther, we will be able to see the Milky Way. I'm gonna try to make it a little brighter. Yeah, that looks okay. All right, so here's our galaxy, and we live in a spiral galaxy. Can't really see it now, but we are right over here. I mean, you definitely can't see us when you're looking at the galaxy, but our location is on one of these outer arms here. And I think I can, in the video feed, see a tiny little dot over here. That's the radiosphere. So that little dot right there is supposed to encompass about 200 light years in diameter. So our, Milky Way is over 100,000 light years across. So really, really big. Okay. So as we go out further, at this distance, all you can see are galaxies. You don't see any, individual stars anymore. So I'm first going to add on the local group and the Tully group of galaxies. And the Tully group. And we're going to zoom backwards. And I apologize that this isn't really bright, guys. It'll get a little brighter when I add on the when we get towards the outer edges of the universe. All right, so we're zooming really, really far back. All of this light that you're seeing now, those are all galaxies. And as we zoom back to the outer edges of the universe, which is where we're getting to right now, you're going to start to see something like an hourglass form. And this is what our image of the known universe is. And the reason it looks like an hourglass is because of the Milky Way, because of our galaxy, and specifically because of the disk of the Milky Way, the bright part. We can't see through that. It's too bright. There's too much stuff, and that actually really inhibits our viewing of the the greater universe. So we can pretty confidently say that the universe isn't shaped like an hourglass, and we could pretty confidently say there's stars all around here and on the other side too. But we just don't have images of them, and we won't be able to for another 100 million years until we're on the other side of the galaxy. So that's a long way around. But yeah, that's the observable galaxy. And we also have everybody's favorite, the cosmic microwave background radiation, which doesn't look like it's showing up too great. But let's pull backward and see if it gets any better. Yeah, okay, that's not terrible. So this is I'm going to zoom in a little bit. The microwave background radiation, which I know we talked about, I believe it was last week, the week before the Halloween party when we talked about different types of light. So this is, the remnants left over of the Big Bang when the universe was very, very young. And yeah, that's the outer edge of the universe. And we have no idea if there's anything past it. Maybe multiple universes. I don't know. Do you guys think we'd ever be able to find out and prove a multiverse theory? That's a question for everybody. I don't personally, unless we can just prove it like mathematically, I don't think we're going to be able to physically do it. The universe is expanding and we can't even leave our galaxy, let alone get to the edge of space. So who knows? Yeah. All right. So my program will fly us home. And hopefully that doesn't look too terrible. Oh, thank you, AL. All right, so let me make it brighter in here again. So that is it, I think. Special thanks to Henry for being our camera person and Erin for helping me out with this. So this is the end of our meeting, guys. Thank you all for coming. I'm going to stick around with these guys if anybody has any other questions or anything particular they want to see. But, if you got to go, feel free to get on out of here. This was great. I hope it, looked well on your end too. So you're very welcome.
Yeah, right at the end, if anyone wants to stick around, we can talk a little bit more about the planetarium and the stuff that we do here, our like shows that we do, since a couple people had questions about that.
We'll also take more space questions.
Yeah,
if you want to say
100%.
anything.
To answer the question we got about like the most informative show is we're not running it right now, but we like to do an hour-long live show.
Oh, okay, never mind. Sorry.
No, someone said there was somewhere like a movie last time they came here, so they were interested in a show more like this. So we usually do an hour-long live show, but we're not doing that right now. We don't have that scheduled, at least for November. It's called Night Sky Live. If you want to look out for it to come and watch it sometime.